Okay, apparently we are live on the air. Yes, rocking and rolling. Hopefully my internet stays stable because it already went out once tonight. Look, we got Sleeping Mimsy tonight. Oh, Venice Bloom. You jumped in with your hellos before I was even here. Hello to you. And hello, Luke. How's it going? God, it's still warm here. It's not stiflingly hot, but it's humid and warm. Mystery 09, hello. Yes, they got a good Australia in the midst of a heat wave that spread across most of the mainland. I think it was yesterday or the day before. The 15 hottest temperatures recorded in the world were all in Australia. Things hitting up 45 and above, 45 to 49 Celsius. Hello, Miss Foxification. How are you? Yeah, it's certainly Melbourne has missed the worst of the heat wave. Other states that were getting the mid 40s temperatures, we were only getting mid 30s. Looking at the predictions, tomorrow probably won't even hit 30. And then much cooler on the weekend, and then hot again next week, back into the 30s next week. That's if they're accurate with the predictions, because weather can be volatile, although it just seems like a little bit of heat settling in around Australia. Not unusual for this time of the year. January, February is usually when we get our most extreme temperatures. That's when you're most likely to get heat waves virtually anywhere in Australia. And Luke, you are right. We do have a problem with our public transport having unreliable levels of air conditioning. Trams can be a bit of a gamble. I used to catch buses where I lived, and they were a bit of a gamble. And honestly, you can't be 100% sure the train's going to have working air conditioning either. It's one of those things. You're rolling the dice a bit when you take public transport. I mean, I remember when I was living in Sydney 20 years ago. Well, I mean, I was living in Sydney 30 years ago as well, because I lived there for about 10 years. Yeah, they still had the red rattler trains, the really old 1950s era trains that definitely did not have air conditioning. Big boy, hello to you. So, gone with a provocative title for the live stream tonight because I've been absolutely marveling at and reeling in horror, but not surprised at the ridiculous fucking bullshit some people are saying about that Gillette ad. I mean, there are lots of areas of it to critique. Notably, you could raise serious questions about what moral standing Gillette as a company have, how much have they perpetuated macho stereotypes over the years, and also what's their company culture like, and of course their parent company is a huge horrifying conglomerate responsible for many terrible things. That's the thing, it's like there's only really 6 companies in the world. Anything you think is independent is actually probably owned by some horrible, huge conglomerate. That's how capitalism is these days. Tendai, yes, Piers Morgan got all worked up. He's in tears. He was so upset. It's just the degree to which this knee-jerk reaction from conservative commentators happens, and it's so predictable. And of course, Gillette would have predicted it. They would have looked at ridiculous bullshit that has happened in the last couple of years, and they would have thoroughly weighed up what would it do to our market share to make these whining little piss babies lose their shit. And they have quite frankly looked at the men's rights activists and the ridiculous braying conservative mouthpieces and gone, you lot aren't worth shit. We don't care about you. Hello, Catherine. They've really just started talking. That's a good one, Miss Foxification. Sorry, I'm laughing at the irony of it. In the past, possibly the recent past, saying Gillette sponsored line girls at races with the Gillette logo printed across the butts of women wearing like latex and swimsuits and whatnot. Yep, that's fairly predictable in corporate world. Big boy, I'm only tangentially aware. I know who you're talking about when you say that Butterfield fuckwit. I'm only sort of tangentially aware of his existence. He's just pushing the same old. I've never considered him worth paying any attention to. It's just there's just dozens of those fuckwits feeding the prejudices of very stupid reactionary people. It's worked out a long time ago. It's not worth spending any time on it. Yeah, misfoxification, it is interesting in that if nothing else, the Gillette ad had the conversation happening, highlighted a bunch of issues, namely that you can't do simple things like point out the statistical reality of how many women are on the receiving end of sexual harassment and assault, how many men are guilty of doing it or perpetuating it or letting it happen, how many men are on the receiving end of violence from other men, totally unprovoked, unwarranted violence from other men, and that men collectively are strong enough to take responsibility for it. Men are the ones who can change things for the better, you know, and they did the little play on their long-standing slogan, "The best a man can get." You know, virtually saying, "Is this the best a man can be?" And the entire thing was, men can be really great. The ad showed examples of positive father role models, positive behavior from males, and these absolute fucking freaks who have to lose their shit over everything. And is that ridiculous? Irony is too mild a word for it. It's just stupidity. These are the same people who, if you get upset about extreme racism, extreme misogyny, extreme transphobia, basically, if you speak up and say that bigotry and hateful attitude is fucking terrible, they go, "Snowflake, do you need a safe space?" When you do something that just says there is an incredibly serious problem with male violence and men being compartmentalized, crushed into little boxes that completely deaden them and limit their lives, and have been proven beyond any doubt to be a major negative effect on men's physical health and a pivotal factor in mental health issues for men, which is a direct contributor to the quite horrifying suicide rates among men, which, you know, the men's rights activists say they care about. But when you talk about, well, why don't we look at root causes? Why don't we look at root causes and talk about ways we could potentially make it better? They just lose their fucking mind. Oh yeah, the misfoxification. Their latest talking point is the reactionary attitude to just talking about toxic masculinity, which is hideously damaging to men. They're inventing, well, there must, by definition, be toxic femininity. And it's just like, I don't know, do they have a secret club where they say, oh, today's ridiculous brain dead bullshit talking point is, because they all start spouting the same inane, utterly meaningless shit at exactly the same time, going, oh, well, what about toxic femininity? And it's just like, why in the ever-loving fuck can these people not actually address anything, the simplest thing, without devolving into whataboutism? It's just absolutely ridiculous. Oh yeah, Safa, that is an incredibly disturbing story. In Melbourne, a young woman was murdered who she's an Israeli exchange student, I think. But yes, just one of those things. Those are the ones, I mean, talking about toxic masculinity, again, statistically, uh, uh, women are at significantly more risk from people they know, close family members, intimate partners, that type of thing. That's who presents statistically much, much, much higher risk to women. But these outlier cases, these terrible, terrible, random acts of violence freak everyone out, because I don't know, I feel like everyone's in denial about the real thing, in that the people closest to you are statistically the greatest threat to you. But that random, completely out of your control incident freaks people out. Everyone, it's like how people fixate on terrorism, because it's bad and you don't want it to happen, and it's just horrific when it happens. But as an actual risk factor, it's so far down the list. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Doesn't mean it isn't horrific. And but we as humans appear to be very bad at risk assessment. Dramatic, eye-catching outlier events influence our behavior and our feelings far more than the actual risk events. You know, everyone freaks out about shark attacks. Shark attacks, and people get hurt, maimed, and killed by sharks. It happens. It's just incredibly rare. You are, this is weird statistics. You're much more likely to be killed by a cow than by a shark. Not to mention, there is 100% way to be 100% sure you will never get attacked by a shark is don't go in the fucking ocean. But big boy, the term toxic masculinity is again, this is the important thing. It is not saying masculinity or males or male behavior generally is toxic. It's talking about a strand of what's been regarded as desirable masculine behavior, part of the masculine identity, masculine code. That literally is dangerous. We use the term toxic because it's dangerous and deadly. The ridiculous concepts like men who show emotion are lesser men. Men who aren't super burly, macho, hetero, shag all the bitches men. If you're anything less than that, you're less of a man. The idea of having an intimate friendship with another man is somehow weird and weak. You know, you don't have intimate friendships with friendships, you have blokey friendships, and you don't ask for help. You don't look for support. You just act strong. Be a man. Man up. Boys don't cry. That ridiculous bullshit of repressing emotion and alienating yourself. That's toxic masculinity. It's toxic to men because it's been proven to be absolutely detrimental to men's physical health. It's devastating to men's mental health and just general happiness. And it's the root cause of the terrible violence we see towards women and children from far too many men. So that's what the term toxic masculinity means. It means behavior that the people who do it or support it regard it as masculine behavior, but it's actually dangerous to the point of being fatal. And that's to both men and women. It's not saying toxic masculinity means being mean to women. That's an aspect of toxic masculinity. It literally means exaggerated concepts of what's acceptable for men that crosses over into being harmful to the men themselves, harmful to other men, harmful to women. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, Big Boy, you could absolutely say there's a scale. I mean, you know, the worst aspects of toxic masculinity, it would be someone who goes out every week, gets drunk, picks fights, assaults women, like grabs women, verbally and physically abuses women, and goes home alone, drinks themselves into unconsciousness. You know, after a night, alcohol abuse, fighting, and assaulting and threatening women. That would be and you know, then that turns into actual rape and murder. That's the extreme expression of toxic masculinity. But you get a sliding scale right down to just shitty behavior, whether it's to other men, to women, or quite frankly to yourself, to not letting yourself be anything outside this tiny little box. Nobody doing well, thank you, buddy. How are you doing? Yeah, mixed foxification. That's a good simple definition. It's when you're talking about toxic masculinity. It starts off with saying men have to be tough, and that's translated into that means violent. Big Boy, I would absolutely say the sort of bullying you get, you know, as you say, in a footy club or any sort of organisation, the army calls it bastardisation. It's like the rite of passage, like you're not one of the boys until you've been beaten up, or you're not one of the boys until you've been through some humiliating prank. You know, it's just fucked up. It's basically behavior that the people involved or people who support it assert as that's what a man does, and it's actually dangerous. It's physically dangerous. It's damaging to mental health and well-being as well. It's just basically when you hurt yourselves and others, and your defense for this behavior that hurts yourself and others is, I'm a real man. That's what a man does. That's what a man does. Yes, misfoxification is a little bit more excusable when a 2-year-old toddler does it as a tantrum. It is very disturbing when it continues to happen through the teen years into adulthood. And yeah, it's the fact that people can't recognize this. It's like the argument where people go like, someone's not racist, because it's like they form the idea in their head that if you don't go to Klan rallies, you're not racist. It's like, that is a ridiculous attitude. Oh, woofer, a mantra. That's a nice word. I like that. Safa, unfortunately, we've probably all got family members who display toxic masculine behavior, at least from time to time. So you say you could level, you can, there are several legitimate criticisms you can level at the Gillette ad. Your one's, some men do the right thing. Well, okay, my counter to that is that's explicitly what the ad shows. The ad doesn't go, bad men, bad, 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 you're all terrible, bad, bad, bad. It highlights the absolutely real and undeniable bullshit that happens at all levels of society and has been happening like for fucking ever. And then they put in the healthy masculinity. They show the positive fathering models. They show the supporting. They show, and this is the hard one, calling other guys out and saying, that's not cool, don't do that. And so my counter would be, the ad not only says some men do the right thing, the ad shows multiple positive role models. Yeah, Mystery 9, it's being healthy as a person, you know, let alone a man, but being healthy is not being locked into a particular box. One of the worst things that's ever been inflicted on the world, and I'm not that much of a bloody social historian to know when this seriously took hold, but the idea that men shouldn't show emotion is absolutely ridiculous, and it's so damaging. It fucks men up. It fucks men up, and then it makes men do fucked up thing to other people, to other men and women. It's I reckon you hit the nail on the head there. That's at the core of toxic masculinity, the concept that men can't show emotion. I think that's the core problem. And yeah, I agree with you, AngryAussie. I mean, I'm a dad, but a dad who can have real connection with his family and be vulnerable and emotional and open, that's a path to being happier. Being this closed off, aloof figure is fucked. Oh yeah, look, I saw that. Clive Palmer thinks he's fucking funny. Clive Palmer wants Cian to, quite honestly. For those who don't know, Clive Palmer, who's a sad, pathetic criminal who's got multiple court cases and steals wages from workers, is trying to cast himself as Donald Trump, which is so pathetic. As if Trump's not bad enough, to cast yourself as a third-rate, pale Trump imitation is pathetic. And he's been sending unsolicited text messages to people going, oh, for this, vote Palmer Party, blah, blah, blah. And aside from being a shit thing to do, and then he sent one that said, oh, vote for the Palmer Party and we'll stop politicians sending unsolicited text messages, because he thinks he's fucking funny, and he's not. He's a piece of shit. I don't know how much of it is he's very, very, very stupid, and how much of it is he's relying on getting votes from very, very, very stupid people. Because on top of being an obtrusive and obnoxious, and all the billboard advertising he's doing being really obnoxious, it's absolutely meaningless, because there's all this implication that vote for Clive and he'll change things. No, he won't. We don't have a presidential system. And he wouldn't fucking win a presidential vote anyway, because he's horribly unpopular. But even if he gets a seat in Parliament, he has no influence whatsoever. The majority parliamentary party sets the rules. He can't do a goddamn thing. So I don't know if his ads are mostly he's really stupid and doesn't understand that he has no power, or he's just relying on very stupid people voting for him. Hard to tell what's the biggest driver there, because I think there's elements of both. Yes, Ms. Foxification, don't get me started. MRAs blaming feminists for the suicide rate. When you talk to health professionals and they'll go, it's men not seeking help. It's men bottling things up. It's men refusing to go and be open to their emotions and what they're feeling. That's what kills men. And it's not just suicide. That actually fucks your physical health. Doesn't kill as many people as suicide does, but it kills people. Credit, how's it going? Hello and wealth to everyone. Thank you. That's some positive wishes for the new year. Yes, Sapa. Men imploding is bad. They hurt themselves. Man exploding is worse because they hurt more than just one person. They hurt many other people. Oh my God, you're right, Miss Fox. Just the thing I kept saying to people, the Gillette ad outed people who were utter fucking garbage. But I want to say to people, like, people's reaction to that Gillette ad are telling you something really important about them, and you need to listen. You need to do. It's not like, they don't really mean it. They fucking mean it. That's how fucked they are. You are not safe around those people. That's just fucked up. But yeah, so speaking of people who upset MRAs, Clementine Ford's been, unsurprisingly, going hell for leather on the reaction to this Gillette ad. Has been making some very cogent points, and she made one that I've made before, that other people have made before. It's really important, and there's this massive denial. I was going to say among men, but it's among people. It's women can be equally guilty of this weird assumption. It's a simple fact when you look at the rates of assaults and rape on women, you, whoever you are, it's all, nothing's certain, but statistically, it's almost certain that you know are rapists, okay? It's someone you socialize with, someone you work with, someone you're related to. And people are in massive denial about that. Like the bad men are someone else. I'm not the bad man. I have no association with the bad man. I have nothing to do with the bad man. So don't talk to me about bad men, because I'm not a bad man and I don't hang around bad. Yes, you do. Statistically, it is almost impossible that you don't know a rapist. And this is the thing I've tried to get along to people, is like, when you say, all these people who spout the really nasty anti-feminist stuff and say that, you know, oh, rape's not that common, and oh, she was asking for it, and why was she drunk? Why was she alone? What was she wearing? And the people who, guys who say this particularly, but women say it too, and they go like, but guys who go, but I'm a good guy, I'd never do that. But, you know, but then they belittle the thing. Just what the actual, even taking those guys at their word, which in an enormous amount of times I do not. I am quite confident that a significant number of guys who say things like that are definitely guilty of behavior that they deserve to be prosecuted for. I don't just mean being a shitty boyfriend or a bad date. I mean being a horrible, creepy, abusive person. But even, you know, taking them at their word, they're a good guy, they don't do the stuff. The guys who do it, they hear these guys, and all these guys go, oh, it's not that big a deal, it's not that big a deal. What the actual rapists hear is, it's not that big a deal. It's not happening. You're not doing anything wrong. You're fine, mate. No, it's these bitches that are the problem. Bloody feminists, they're full of shit. There's no problem. So the guys who are doing it are getting a constant message that this isn't a problem. they're not doing anything wrong. And the fact that so many people won't take responsibility for that really shits me. It's really hot in here. I might turn on the air conditioning. It's just really still and humid in here, which is distracting. I am actually, Mimsy will keep you company for the 30 seconds I'll be away. Okay, we'll make it a bit more tolerable. Mimsy's very sleepy. She is not usually that sleepy. And she's just the last couple days, she started sitting on the top deck. Like, you know, she used to always sit here when we were making all the pirate cat jokes. To lighten the topic a bit, she's been sitting up on the high perch wall. Oh, God, yeah, misfoxification. That's where I get really angry. The guys who defend rapists. And this is someone who's convicted. And I see this, like, there's been a couple instances of a guy, he's either connected, you know, like he's rich, or he's a famous sporting person, and he's convicted. And at his sentencing hearing, people fall over themselves to be character witnesses for him. He's a convicted rapist. And they stand up and go, he's a good bloke. He deserves a break. He's not. He's the ungoodest of the ungood. He is a fucking rapist. And they wonder why people get so frustrated with this whole thing, and why the Me Too movement is a thing. They're just in denial to the point, like I said, when actual convicted rapists have people falling over themselves to be character witnesses and going, oh, you shouldn't send him away for a long time. He's a good bloke. He doesn't deserve to have his whole life ruined. Yes, he fucking does. Oh my God. I have to share, there's a thing, there's a really dark bit. There's a webcomic I found a while ago. It's like a superhero comic. And it has a cute name. It's called Strong Female Protagonist, which is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, that name. And it's interesting, and it's run for years. It's actually, I guess you'd call it on a high hiatus at the moment. They're planning what they're calling their final chapter or final volume, and they haven't posted any new material for a couple months, I don't think. They normally posted a couple pages a week, 2 or 3 days a week they'd post a page. And, you know, it's run for years. There's heaps of content. Yeah, if you like that sort of thing and been looking for something different and you've never heard of it, look up Strong Female Protagonist, because if you haven't started it, there's years worth of the comic to read. But it's pretty good, and it's very social justicey. And some of the stuff they do in that I find very interesting. But there was one bit where they got really dark because something happened, and it's like there was some space radiation, and a bunch of children that were born that night in their teenage years developed superpowers. Most people developed one superpower, and some of the mutations were better than others. Some were physical, and the protagonist, the strong female protagonist, she got like the best of the bunch. She's Supergirl. She can fly, has super strength, and is virtually invulnerable. She doesn't have heat vision, but she has super strength, can fly, is basically invulnerable. So she's a hero. And, you know, she'd spent ages fighting villains because some of the mutated people went bad. But then they get into interesting explorations about how much those people were a victim of circumstance. But there's one character, she can go ethereal, basically. She can be invisible and have no physical form. And she's bad. And they think she's in a cell, but she's worked out how to do a projection of a cell. And while she's supposedly locked up, someone, I noticed, Miss Foxification, you brought up Brock Turner, someone has been killing guys who got off rape charges or got no significant punishment for a rape. And someone's murdering them. And they appear to be invisible. So the suspicion immediately falls on this one bad one. But she's in a cell. What they don't realise is she's worked out a way to project illusion of herself there, and it is her who's going out killing these guys. And the protagonist is talking to this professor who's done a lot of research into the whole meta-human thing, is trying to learn from her, and saying like, oh, but it's bad. I worked out it was her, and it's bad that, you know, like she's killing these guys. And the professor goes into the statistics of the number of guys who get away with raping and even murdering women, and how, you know, the old line of why didn't she leave? That is actually the most dangerous time for a woman who's been the target of violence from their partner. The most dangerous time is when they leave them. That's when most murders happen. And so you get this whole thing where the protagonist is saying it's bad that she's murdering these guys. And the doctor just runs through a bunch of statistics and says, and in the face of all of that, I honestly don't give a shit if someone's murdering a few rapists. And you're like, oh, Jesus, that's harsh. But it's like they went down a really, really deep, dark path. Oh, that's another fun one we can explore, Miss Foxification. Now, conservative Christians particularly, one of the criticisms they'll level at Islam, they go, ooh, they're pedophiles, they force children to marry old men and whatnot. There is actually an enormous problem in the US with forced child bride marriages from Christians, and it's legal. It's legal, and of course it's notoriously in the southern states in the US. But it's a really big problem, and people don't talk about it. You might not have even heard about it, and you tell some people about it when they go, "Oh, the Muslims and they're forcing the children to marry men." That's happening in the US a lot. It's a really big problem, and often it's children being forced to marry their rapist, and it's a really fucking big problem. And so you can't single out Mormons. It is absolutely not Mormons. It's evangelical Christians. And it's fucked up. It's really fucked up. Like, honestly. And that's the thing. Yeah, Miss Foxification, you hit the nail on the head. In a lot of states, it's legal if the parents consent. And because of the really closed communities, and they're more worried about scandal than the mental and physical health of their child, the parents do consent to it. And it's really fucked up, and it's a really big problem. And I really feel like lightening the mood. I lighten the mood. I started talking about webcomics. What webcomics does everyone read? Besides strong female protagonists, what else is there? I mean, there's webcomics and webcomics. Some are narrative serials, like strong female protagonist. Another one a lot of people read, and I look at occasionally, is called questionable content. Miss Foxification, you're into Diesel Sweeties. I never really got into Diesel Sweeties. I've looked at it, never been hugely into it. I actually tend to, you know, questionable content too. I actually found questionable content years ago because I occasionally do really weird Google searches. Like if I put a silly phrase in, what comes up? And I found one good website by searching pointless waste of time, and the website was called Pointless Waste of Time. And the guy who wrote the material on that ended up being one of the senior writers for the Cracked page. And another one I looked up questionable content and found this webcomic. And it's another one that's run for years. Hell, if you want something new to read, questionable content's got like 10 years of content or something on there. It's amazing how long that does. And you can also see the evolution of his drawing style, like not great at the start, but just by drawing every day, he got much better. It's kind of like a soap opera. I reckon it's with a lot of social justice issues, and it's like it's slightly alternate reality. It's like our world, but there are sentient robots and artificial intelligences, and yes, it explores a lot of things with gender and sexuality and whatnot. And it can be quite good. It's very popular. It's been around for a really long time. There's was it like the single panel one, XKCD? I'm still a fan of. Oh, Mystery 09, you looked up the child marriage thing. Yeah, there isn't a minimum age in about half the US states. Yeah, it's really fucking scary. Well, see, Safa, this is why you want webcomics, because there's some good ones. AgroPixie, you're looking at Sleepless Domain, Magic Girls. Nice. Okay, I'll try and remember that one and look it up. Well, Nintendo's got a few. Witch Creek Road, Outrage, My Giant Nerd Boyfriend, Mage and Demon Queen. Nice. Some that ran for quite a long time, but finished their run. There was one of my favorite professional comic writers, Warren Ellis, had a long-running free webcomic. Oh my God, and my brain's just blanked on the name of it. It's about supernatural. It's this group of children who were all born on the same day. There's like a dozen of them, and they develop these incredible powers in their teenage years. And they cause some sort, and it's ages before you get any details about it, but there's some sort of apocalypse. It's set in England, and there's some sort of apocalyptic event, and it's ages before you find out what it is or what the cause is. Safa, I've not seen Aquaman yet. Not in an enormous rush to see it. Warren Ellis webcomic. Freak Angels, that's what it's called. The Warren Ellis comic is called Freak Angels. That's what this group of young folk call themselves. Yes, this foxification, we could be talking about toxic conservatism. This is what frustrates me, because the people who are controlling public discourse and put themselves up as the face of conservatism are really toxic. And someone who promotes conservative politics traditionally was not that toxic. They don't have to be toxic. I disagree with the majority of policies, both economic and social, but conservative doesn't mean by definition bad person. These people who are controlling the public discourse are fucking bad people. They're awful people. Are we talking about May and Brexit? I saw someone shared a picture of the front page of there's a Dutch newspaper that had a picture of Theresa May on the cover, and the big bold headline just said slag. And I was like, that's a bit harsh. Just putting a picture of Theresa May on your newspaper and calling her a slag, that's bloody harsh. I mean, I'm no fan of her, but that's a bit much. But then you find out slag is the Dutch word for battle. So the headline is actually battle, in light of her losing the vote for her Brexit plan by an historic margin. No government had ever had a proposal voted down by that margin in history. Mimsy's Awaken is being weird. What are you doing? You're being weird. Yes, you are. All right. Raiders, you're right. It's religious conservatism, whatever religion. You look at any of the religions around the world, when really conservative people control the message, like where you see conservative Jewish politicians in Israel just being fucking awful, conservative Christian politicians in America, England, Europe, Australia, conservative Muslim politicians, well, they're not even politicians half the time. Half the time, it's a dictatorship. Sometimes they're politicians, like our neighbor to the north, Indonesia, is at least nominally a democracy. And people, I always love it when people say, like, but Buddhism's beautiful, man. No, just go and look up, do a Google search on the Buddhist Taliban, and you'll find incredibly cruel, bigoted, murderous people controlling the discourse on Buddhism, parts of Southeast Asia. So it's basically when really conservative people control the religious message, it almost always gets really fucking ugly. What's that, Mimsy? You're so weird. Safa, is Indonesia the only Muslim democracy? I don't think. I think Southeast Asia, that whole area, like, again, someone who knows geography and politics better than me, I think Malaysia, which is also a democracy, is a Muslim majority country, I think. Someone who knows geography and politics better than me could potentially answer that. Oh, Catherine, you've gone for a walk around the block. What's the temperature like where you are? Dento, Mimsy senses coins but has no wares. Yes, what was that? That's Skyrim. Although it's fun setting up characters in Monster Hunter World, because you have a cat as a sidekick. And so I made one that looked like Mimsy, of course. It was fun making the cat look as much like Mimsy's. Oh, that's an interesting point, Miss Foxification. Indonesia is actually a massive archipelago of islands, and different factions have controls in different areas. And Banda Aceh is under really quite extreme Sharia law, very repressive. And here's the weird thing, because you're saying Indonesia is a country, it's a big expanse of islands, and culturally, people are very different in different areas. Like Australia's favorite holiday spot, Bali, the island of Bali, is in the Indonesian archipelago, but culturally, the Balinese are far more laid back and relaxed than the people who hold power in Indonesia. So there's quite a bit of tension between the relaxed lifestyle in Bali and the religious conservatism of the politicians who have power in Indonesia. So there's a bit of tension there. Tendo, I'm not actually playing Monster Hunter World. I set up a character and never really went much further than that. It's still 30 degrees. Went around the block and started sweating. Yeah, that's not good. That is. I noticed that at work. Oh my God, at work today, at the start of work, the air conditioning wasn't working. So it was really gross and humid in the offices. And then I had a meeting in one of the meeting room and realized the meeting room had an independent air conditioning unit. So it was like, yay, yeah, make it really cool in this room, unlike the gross, sweaty rest of the office. It eventually got fixed. But yeah, then when I left work, this afternoon. It was so friggin' humid outside. Oh, Mr. 09, I actually put the aircon on in here because it was too humid. It was actually a little bit hard to concentrate. Oh God, no air conditioning. I empathise nobody because I only moved here less than 2 years ago. And the previous house that I lived in for 10 years had basically no air conditioning, had one of those little window units, which was marginally better than useless. Yeah, I feel spoiled now that I have workable air conditioning, although it struggles on really hot days. If it hits 45, the aircon unit tends to overheat and trip a circuit breaker, which is a real hoot on those hot days, that when you really want it and it can't actually keep up, it runs too hot and trips a circuit breaker. So that sucks. Credit, you're getting snow where you are. Where is that again? Obviously somewhere in the Northern Hemisphere. Every time you say there's like climate change deniers, one of their big arguments that they think is so clever is that it still gets cold in winter. Like, oh, global warming's real. Why is it snowing? Because it's fucking winter, you moron. So it's been over 40 for a week where you are. Yeah, I think I saw a news report the other day. I don't remember if it was Monday or Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday. Australia recorded the 15 hottest temperatures in the world. Like temperatures recorded around the world, the 15 hottest were all in Australia. Yeah, Miss Foxcation, it's exactly that. How can there be a famine somewhere in the world? I just had dinner. It's ridiculous. Oh, and I notice this is getting repeated now. The latest lie from the climate change deniers. Oh, you know that saying that 97% of scientists say climate change is caused by human is real. That's not even true. Look, here's a scientist who says it's not true. And it's like, it's a deliberate lie. I was going to say misrepresentation, but it's a conscious and deliberate lie because that statistic was actually about peer-reviewed studies of climate science by climate scientists, not the opinions of scientists. Like, here's the geologist who says it's not real. Oh, good for you, buddy. The people who actually know what they're talking about, who spent years studying it and analysed all the data, are universal in their response that no, it's real, catastrophic, caused by humans. So that's their latest lie. Their latest lie is, oh, you know that 97% of scientists think that's not actually true. And it's just like, it's yet another deliberate lie. It's like, if your position is so strong, why are your arguments always based on lies? It blows my mind. So that's actually not true. Climate change and global warming means hotter summers and less cold winters. It means more extreme weather events, and certainly some places might have a colder than average winter, but this is actually the hotter summers feel worse, but the bigger issue environmentally are the warmer winters. We don't feel it as much because it's still cold. It's just not as cold as usual. And that actually has the potential to be a more devastating long-term effect than the hotter summers. Rob, you read that 60% of coffee species are going extinct. Well, and I believe chocolate is in the same basket, actually. Goodness, what was that, Mimsy? Someone's fucking something up. Oh, Greta, it's clutching at straws. Why do people say, why do people clutch on to the word of one scientist and ignore the word of all the others. And it's clutching at straws. It's people are guilty of doing it. It's like if you get a cancer diagnosis and go for multiple opinions, and 9 out of 10 tell you, yeah, you have cancer and you're going to die, but one says it's not cancer, it's unbalanced humors and I can cure it. People have a tendency to go with the one who tells them the thing they want to do. It's like this whole year, but here's a scientist who says it's not, or he's a weatherman who says it's not. And so that person may well have qualifications in their own area. They may well be very intelligent, but their word doesn't stack up against the word of the specialists in the field who investigate. It's basically like saying, like, well, okay, are you going to let a dermatologist do your open heart surgery? Because the dermatologist is a doctor and the heart surgeon is a doctor. Are you going to let the dermatologist do your open heart surgery? If the dermatologist tells you it's not even serious, I can just do that. It's no, you're not going to die. I can do it. That's people clutch at that ridiculous bullshit. It's just like, yeah, I think I'm going to let my dentist do surgery on the tumor in my brain because he drills holes in my teeth and they're in my head and my brain's in my head. So that's basically the same thing. So I think it'll be completely okay to let my dentist do my brain surgery. And also, I think that geologist who said climate change isn't real, I think they're right. And all the climate scientists are wrong. That one geologist is right and all the climate scientists are wrong. It's like so fucking stupid. Like, it's occasionally embarrassing how stupid it is. Like, people say something and you just go, what? Do you actually expect me to respond to that? Like, you just said something that's so brain-bendingly stupid. It's like a flat earther. A flat earther wanting to debate you. And you're going, how do I debate you? What do I say to you? Like, your fundamental premise is so stupid. Your fundamental premise is beyond ridiculous. That how on earth am I supposed to debate you? Like, you are making no sense whatsoever. Like, the fundamental element of your argument is so stupid. How on earth can I possibly, how can I possibly debate you? There's nothing to debate. Like, your starting position is so stupid. Well, that's the big question, Feeler and Sealer. Do flat earthers think all planets are flat or just Earth? I think there is some variation in the flat Earth community. Some of them do say the other planets are globes, like we can see them in telescopes. They're globes, but the Earth is not for some reason. Others say everything you've ever been told about space and science and NASA and everything is all lies. It's all a conspiracy and it's all lies. And that's why it's really not worth engaging with them, because it's literally like you shoot them down in flames and they go, you're part of the conspiracy. You're just part of the conspiracy. And it's like, okay, buddy, thanks. Thank you. Thank you. That's it. No more discussions with you. So It is somewhat. Oh, what's this? She's actually grabbing me with her claw, saying, "Pat me." Catherine, why is the Earth special? Who knows? And look, the other thing is the flat Earth community is actually full of trolls, people who don't believe it, but just get in there and say stupid things to try and make the flat earthers look stupid. But they don't need any help. The actual position people take is so stupid that making fun of them is pointless. But some people do get in there and they say, I believe the earth is flat. And they'll say deliberately stupid things because they think it's making the flat earth argument look stupid and they think they're discrediting it. But it's like, dude, you are no more stupid than the people who really believe it. So, oh, you're right, Miss Fox. You're saying if a planet was flat, anything large, flat, solid in space, yeah, it would get pummeled into something resembling or be destroyed. I like the idea of someone's going, the flat earthers know what happened to the dinosaurs because the dinosaurs were fine, and then the big asteroid hit the flat earth and tilted it up, and all the dinosaurs fell off and went into space. That's why the dinosaurs died, because the flat earth got tilted when a meteor hit it. Catherine, that is an all-time classic. For those who don't know, another big conspiracy theory is moon landing deniers. And a few years ago, like a decade or two ago, Buzz Aldrin was at some public event, and some moon landing conspiracy idiot accosted him and was, well, why are you lying to people? Why are you fabricating? Why are you lying? You never went to the moon. You never went to the moon. Why are you lying? And Buzz Aldrin, who's not a young man at this point, just punches the dude in the face. It's just like, yay, go Buzz, go Buzz. But yeah, once someone locks into a conspiracy, there's rarely any value in you expending any energy in getting them to change. You can say, look, okay, dude, whatever, just here's the information, here's the evidence. Sometime in your life, you might read it. I'm not wasting time on you. But here's the links, here's the references, here's the evidence. Use it or not, I don't care. I'm not going to, because they'll drain the life out of you. But yeah, occasionally some of them do just off their, and they have to want to do it. They have to want to evaluate the information. If they don't want to evaluate the information, you shove it in their face and they'll aggressively reject it. But left to their own devices, if they develop the motivation to look up the evidence, then there's a chance they'll go, oh. Mr. Anon, it's a good question. I don't know that I've ever heard anyone say Buzz Aldrin was wrong to punch the dude. Probably moon landing deniers would say it was wrong, but I don't talk to them. But yes, you do get people saying you shouldn't have punched Richard Spencer, but you get far fewer people who think Buzz Aldrin shouldn't have punched the dude. Wow. Okay, Miss Foxification, you're braver than I, and you're not the only one I know who's done it. Actually, got through to a couple of MRAs, and yes, successfully turning someone away from that could be saving someone from their later abuse. Be saving lives. Whenever I've whenever I've done the video thing, whenever I have made calm, reasoned videos where I've gone, let's look at this. This is what's happening. This is why men should behave better. They actually engender a more extreme negative response from the MRAs than if I just shout. It's really weird. I mean, I like to make them every now and then to show, look, here's the case, here's the evidence, here's the situation, this is what we should do. Yeah. need to make an effort to be better. The hardcore MRAs react more viscerally towards those than they do when I shout. It's like there's something intrinsically fucking wrong with them, quite honestly. So yeah, made a drink. I may get a drink. Was it? It's only 9 o'clock. The big question is, what do I want to drink? I think I might do a Southern lemonade. So I'm going to get this, and what goes with that? This goes with that. Humorously oversized bourbon bottle. Ugh. I think you're right there, Ms. Foxification. Challenging someone's base assumptions can make them angry because of cognitive dissonance. Because you can really calmly put together an argument that absolutely demolishes a bigot's position, and there's a tendency for them to dig in even harder simply because some part of them knows you have calmly and logically wiped out their sad excuse for an argument. But there's another part of, we'll call it their brain, that hangs on to their prejudices with grim determination. And these two completely conflicting ideas that the brain's gone, you know what, everything they said is irrefutable. And the other part that go, no, but this is what we think. And one part's going, you can't actually argue with any of that. And this part's going, yes, we can. We reject it. And it can trigger quite an aggressive response. It's interesting. I don't know how many people here have watched videos by ContraPoints. Her videos are very interesting, very high production values, a huge amount of effort and obvious research goes into ContraPoints videos. And she argues against this, particularly against like the YouTube conservatives, the YouTube reactionaries, and this stuff about gender and sexuality and general politics. Opposing the alt-right stuff. And like I said, she has really high production values in her videos. Clearly, a lot of research goes into them, and I watch them and I enjoy them. But I honestly sit there going, "Oh, I kind of feel like these are for people who already agree with you." That's calming and relaxing to see someone present a well-reasoned, well-researched argument that supports your point of view, and you go, oh God, the world's not completely insane. Here's someone talking sense. Even though, like, she's very reasonable, maybe too reasonable sometimes, thinking particularly of the trouble she went to not attack incels. But I wonder, does that ever reach any of the people that she's talking about? Like when she puts together a really calm, well-argued, entertaining, high production value video, does she ever reach any of these people? Do they ever go, wait, what? And because, yeah, the internet's there, they can look it up and go, wait, she says that? Is that a real thing? Oh my God. I don't know if she ever reaches anyone. And she puts an enormous amount of effort into her videos. And I don't know if they do more than preach to convert. That's not to say she shouldn't do them. I think the videos are great, but Yeah, that whole can you reach these people? I don't know. And I occasionally his head butting me. Wants to be scrooched. I occasionally see people on social media, they post examples of, I reached out to the hater, I tried to improve their mood and whatnot, and they're nice to someone who launches a really nasty, unprovoked attack on them. And they're nice to them, and the person goes, I'm sorry, you're actually good. Oh, I feel bad for having done that now. And it's just like, yeah, that's kind of a feel-good story, but when some people are dealing with hundreds, if not thousands, of these motherfuckers every day, the idea that you should be reaching out of them, reaching out to them, rather than just blocking them or something, sort of reeks of bullshit, quite honestly. Dimitri, you said you've seen comments on the videos where people say they've changed. Well, that's good. Again, I'm of the don't read the comments mindset, because it just gets so gross. So you know, this is I occasionally try to just be reasonable in a video and say, oh, let's just look at this. Yes, Miss Fox, occasionally reach out and touch somebody. And if they're a Nazi, make it your fist. Reach out and touch them that way. But I think I made this point the other day. Is like, because Mrs. Angry's been watching Harry Potter, and you know, with the rise of the Dark Wizards, the Death Eaters, and what, it's just like, seriously, how would they allow that to happen? Why wouldn't they step up and do something? Then I look at our world. Wait, we're just letting Nazis parade around in public. Oh yeah, that's just, yeah. People just let shit happen. Basically, they hope it won't happen to them. I don't know if you can hear that noise. Mimsy's rather aggressively sharpening her claws on the scratching post. Yeah, she's back now. Yes, you're back. Back to your adoring public. Yes, you silly cat. She does these typical cat things of sitting on rugs. Like if you've got a square of rug, she'll sit on it because that's better than the whole rest of the floor because there's a square there. I even went into the toilet, I think it was just today, you know, and at the little mat that you have in front of toilets, and she's sitting on that. And I was like, you can't sit there. I have to go to the toilet. It's the way it goes. She's a funny old thing. Yeah. Yes. No, Felix, it's not good people on both sides. It's fine people on both sides. The side that was doing a fucking Klan march and inspired someone to murder one of the counter protesters, they're fine people. Just like, oh, okay. And even like, you know, making fun of Trump there, but even beyond that, I see this all the fucking time. All the fucking time. See it in the media, in politics, and just stupid fucking people have to put up with on the internet. They go like, oh, the people who oppose the Nazis, Antifa, and all the communists who oppose Nazis, they're as bad as the Nazis. They're fucking not, you know. You know why they're not? Because they're not fucking Nazis. You know who's right up there with being as bad as the Nazis? You pieces of shit who criticize people who fucking oppose Nazis. That's how Nazis rise to power. They're not a majority in and of themselves, but they get a sway of people who go, oh, well, you know, there's two sides to every argument. A real fuck. It's just, um, and this is like every fucking day someone says, oh, if you're going to criticize the Nazis, you have to criticize Antifa too. If you're going to criticize the Nazis, you have to criticize communists. No, I fucking don't, okay? I really fucking don't. I can really comfortably just criticize Nazis, fascists, white supremacists. You know, I'm really fucking comfortable criticizing them and not the people who oppose them. I made a video recently referencing the Nazi rally that happened in Melbourne down on St Kilda Beach, in which I actually pointed out in the video, this is not hyperbole. The organisers and main attractions of this Nazi rally are self-proclaimed Nazis. You take their shirts off, you'll be finding swastika tattoos. Yet people who are open in their worship of Hitler. And yes, you get the ones who talk about the Jewish problem and who feel they have the right to eradicate anyone who is of a race or religion that they don't approve of. And this fuckhead came into the comments on the video and go, I'm confused. How are they Nazis? Are they talking about gassing Jews? Are they talking about this? And then he threw in this bizarre thing about the central bank. And I answered like, yeah, you know what? The first two, yes. The central people in this rally are explicitly on record as wanting to get rid of the Jews and wanting to and have a fascist state in place. And I bet you thought you were really clever. So the thing like, oh, you're just throwing the term Nazi around. What did they do to earn the title Nazi? As well, the worship of Nazi ideology, basically, the wanting to propagate Nazi ideology. It's just like these people are so fucked in the head. They go like, I hate communists. So anyone who says they don't like Nazis is a communist, and the people they're criticizing aren't really Nazis because they're just like me. And go, yeah, they are just like you, motherfucker. Oh, Steve King. Yes, Feeler and Sealer. That was a funny one. He's finally been dumped as a hot potato by the majority of the Republican Party. He's been an open white supremacist for ages, and he's become so complacent because he hasn't been challenged for ages. He actually said in an interview, when did white supremacists become a bad thing? And it's just like, Jesus fuck, these pieces of shit get a free run for long enough and they out themselves without hesitation. It's like, but yeah, the ones who think they're good, oh, you're just calling them, you call everyone you don't like Nazis. In this case, I'm calling the people with swastika tattoos, the ones who worship Hitler, the ones who actively propagate Nazi ideology, the one who launch hate attacks on Jewish people and Muslims and Christians who are too tolerant for their liking. So the key organizers of this Nazi rally in St Kilda, they have criminal records for assault and harassment and across the board for harassing Jewish people, Muslims, and Christians. It's basically the and even there was these pontificating people on the ABCs like, I think you're giving them too much credibility, calling them Nazis. They're not that organized. Okay, look, you're living in your comfortable little fucking bubble because you're not the target. You're not Jewish. You're not Muslim. You're a comfortable middle-class white person. It's not beholden on you to be worried about these people because they're not targeting you. But that fucking self-satisfied, smug little bubble you live in is going to get other people killed. And eventually, you'll either step into line with them or you'll be a target as well, for fuck's sake. Try to see a conversation. Oh, the happiness line. I like that, Mitchell. You just say, can everyone agree on happiness? Yes, really and sincerely saying there are nasty people whose happiness derives from denying happiness to other people. So it's just like, yeah. I still remember, like, when my kids were little, primary school, and my kids happened to be very smart, and my daughter was a very good reader and looked at things and she learned things about the world. And she's like, I don't know where she was in primary. She's less than 10 years old anyway. And she's thinking about, wars are dumb. Who would need a war? Wars, that doesn't make any sense. Who would do that? And I said, okay, well, there are mean kids at school. And she goes, yeah, like the bullies, right? And they do stuff that good kids, decent people don't want to do, right? They're mean to people. They push people around. They hurt people. And sometimes they go too far, and you have to get a teacher and you have to do something quite severe to stop them, or they're hurting people too much. And she goes, yeah, well, countries are like that sometimes. The politician, you think it's only kids who do that? No, there are adults who do that. There are whole fucking countries who do that. They do as much as they can get away with, and at a certain point, other people realize the only way to hold them back is with a violent response. Like, containment and appeasement only work so far, as we have found out repeatedly in history. But that's a weird one for them to see. A Freaky Friday with the two Stephen Kings. That is actually super weird. Yeah, well, the Republican couldn't do any harm if he was in the writer's body. You just say weird things. But the writer, who's a fairly mouthy progressive, if he was in the body of a Republican legislator, he could get up to all sorts of things. Oh, gee, how are you? I was about to say, oh, right at the end, but it's 9:20, so I'm probably around for another 40 minutes. So, there we go. We have time to chat. What time is it where you are? It's 9:20 p.m. here. We've been having far-ranging chats. I keep trying to light it up because we're going into really dark areas because we are in the darkest timeline. That comes from one of the DC TV shows, Flash, I think. It's either Flash or Arrow. God, 5:21 a.m. What are you doing up at 5:21 a.m.? That's full on. God, my alarm's for 6:15 and I feel like that's early. I don't actually watch any of the DC TV series. A lot of people say they're good. I watched the first season of Arrow, and I watched bits and pieces of the other ones. But ever since one of them said this is the darkest timeline, people use that. This is either the darkest timeline or the dumbest timeline. Every now and something happens, and just like the existence of Trump is just like, fuck me, what have we done to deserve this? Yes, this voxification, that supposed Chinese saying, may you live in interesting times. And there's conjecture as to, is that a blessing or a curse? Wishing that someone lives in interesting times. Is that a blessing or a curse? Depends on interesting and how you deal with interesting things. Yeah, I shared a tweet someone did the other day, like that ridiculous shit, Trump and the fast food in the White House. It's just like, yeah, that is pretty much a perfect visual metaphor for his fucking presidency. Just weird as shit. And someone put the caption on that photo, this is the photo that would tell a returning time traveler they fucked something up. It's just like, yep. That's it. That is it. That's it. We're in the fuck timeline. And I shared that, and a guy I know on Twitter replied with, I'm actually convinced that there's someone in another dimension who's using our dimension as a cautionary tale and saying to someone, don't complain, you could be stuck in that dimension where Trump's president. That's the fucked dimension. That's the most fucked timeline right there. And there's something to be said for that, quite honestly. You are what you eat. Oh, okay. So to me, the funniest thing about that whole Trump thing is it's not, okay, not that I eat much fast food, but not objecting to that specifically, but Trump making a big note because of the fucking government shutdown, the kitchen staff weren't in the White House. So he's saying, I personally paid for this, ordered out for all this fucking junk food. But it would have been cold. It was there for fuck knows how long before the people showed up. The whole thing is absolutely surreal. And it's not so much that fast food is wrong. Only garbage people eat fast food. It's like, it would have been cold. It would have just been cold, congealed grease. It's just like, oh my God. And that stupid shit-eating grin of his, like, look at the big thing I did. Thinking that was a good thing. Like, for fuck's sake, honestly. Absolutely ridiculous. Honestly, nothing would have been better. Just having a reception with drinks. Chips and fucking dip. Chips and dip would have been better than that ridiculous selection of hours cold fast food. It fucking does my head in that he thought that was a good idea. He just said to people like, no, in the White House, the shutdown, too many Democrats, it's their fault. It's no kitchen staff. We got some stuff, cold stuff, cold meats, cheeses, dips, chips, and drinks. But fucking fast food. It's just like his brain doesn't work. He is not a smart person. I mean, I know that's an understatement, but he is not a smart person. Yeah, Miss Fox saying ordered in pieces, but of course there would be a really huge security issue with getting food ordered to the White House. Like, I could just imagine him saying, I'm going to order takeaway and have it delivered, and the people responsible for security just going, what the fuck? Are you fucking joking? And I'm sure they thought they talked him out of it when they said, Mr. President, security protocols, blah, 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 blah. To have takeaway, it would have to be delivered several hours before people eat it. Trump goes, okay. And they go, what do you fucking mean, okay? How are you going to have fucking fast food sitting there getting cold for hours? It'll be a fucking miracle if you don't poison someone. It's like, he is not a smart person. He is just not a smart person. He is a typical narcissist, absolutely deluded about his place in the world. So, wow. Ms. Foxification, I'm sure they organise food for the president, but organising that volume of fast food, there's no way someone can just rock up to the gate of the fucking White House and with hundreds of burgers and it just gets straight in. The security risk is massive. If you call a place and say, and they wouldn't have done that. Some White House staffer would have, again, God, maybe I'm giving him too much benefit of the doubt. If there was any vaguely competent human involved in this entire process, they wouldn't have had it delivered. A White House staffer would have got a van and gone out and picked all the shit up and brought it back. However they did it, it was fucking sitting there for hours before the people came into the reception. It was absolutely ridiculous. How much does she like getting scratched? Oh my God, Mimsy, you're so demanding. Yeah, Miss Fox, actually, I would have done crackers, cheese, dip, and some fucking drinks. That's all you want. Cold meats, maybe. Get a fucking deli platter. Go to Costco. Go to Costco and get a fucking deli platter. Fucking whatever. It's just like, what he did was so fucking strange. But absolutely typical of him. It was like the summation of him. I was like, oh my God. So I feel like, you know, all the suggestions are Mueller investigation is close to its first critical phase, and that's like indictments of someone in Trump's family, or just presenting stuff to Congress to go, okay, this is what we regard as irrefutable evidence of this fuckery. And yeah, a Democrat-controlled Congress having that evidence and being able to hold hearings in relation to it. That's some big stuff. You know, I'm not going to predict what happens. You know, I don't think it's an outlandish prediction to go, Trump's going to face criminal charges. Trump will be impeached. He'll be forced to resign. He will face criminal charges. He'll be relying on President Pence to pardon him, which might not happen. But Trump is going to, in ignominy, it's going to be a spectacular fucking fall from grace. It's going to be a spectacular crash, and it'll be criminal. That's not an outlandish prediction. That seems a logical prediction. It's just that the world doesn't seem all that logical these days. It really doesn't. So I don't know. Sorry. He'll live in Russia. He'll do a Snowden. He'll have the apartment next to Snowden. That'd be fucking hilarious. Oh my God, that's a sitcom. That should be a sitcom. A sitcom set a couple years in the future of Snowden and Trump having adjoining apartments in Russia, and Trump thinking they're pals, that they're both, you know, fighting against the system, and that's why they're there. And Snowden just go, oh, fucking go away, you horrible person. Oh my God, someone just, I should be a millionaire. That's $1 million idea. Yes, Miss Foxification, the latest iteration of the odd couple. Snowden and Trump in Russia, hiding from American interviews. Do you think Meryl Streep should play Trump? She has the range. She has range. She could do it. Mystery 09, that's a pretty good time. Oh, living with Putin, because Putin would be like their landlord. Putin's their landlord who comes. He's the mean landlord who goes, like, who remembers that show? The US. It was a British sitcom. It's called Two's Company or something. Three's Company. No, the American remake was called Three's Company. What was the original British sitcom with the guy and the two girls and the grumpy landlord? It would just be a version of that. Oh, Megally, she's saying Streep actually did a Trump impersonation. I'll find it on Google. Wow. Catherine, is My Neighbor Hitler a sitcom? Is it? I can believe that. That seems like a thing that would happen. Okay, I'm actually, while we're talking, I am actually going to look up. I put too many E's in that. She playing Trump. I'm actually just going to do a YouTube search. Meryl Streep played Donald Trump on stage, and it was a must-see. Okay, I can watch that later. It was the thing that happened. That was actually a thing that happened. Fair enough. Oh, yes, Feather and Sealer. I think we would have to have golden shower references with Snowden and Trump. Oh, Catherine, it wasn't called My Neighbor Hitler. It was called Heil, I'm Home. Okay. That sounds very sophisticated. It's like a spin-off of Iron Sky. Several years late, the second Iron Sky movie's coming out. Like they've been promising it for about 3 years or something, and I think it's finally coming out this year. The Coming Race, subterranean Nazis riding dinosaurs, which does sound really funny. Oh, Miss Voxication, I've seen Tracy Ullman do Theresa May. She does a very good Theresa May, actually. Tendo, you think the sitcom should be called Donnie and Eddie? I like that too. That's a good one. But Mystery 09's Living with Putin. That completes the comedic setup. I think they are definitely the odd couple. Trump and Snowden being neighbors in an apartment complex, but with Putin being their landlord, that's just that's comedy gold. That's classic. Ed and the Don. Tendai, you definitely should work in TV, actually, coming up with those names for shows. Ed and the Don, it's good. It'd be funny if like they were both living in apartments, and it was that they were basically on, the rent was paid, but they were just like they couldn't go out and work, they couldn't go out in public, or they'd be caught and prosecuted. So they had to live in secret. So they didn't really have it. And Trump just thinking, "Here, Eddie, did I ever tell you I used to have a gold toilet? I used to literally shit on gold, and oh yeah, I'd pay these ladies to come around and they pee on the bed," and it's just like, and Snowden just going, "Oh God, I'm so sick of these stories." I'm sure after all he's sacrificed, Edward Snowden would be happy to know we see him as a comedic foil to Donald Trump. I was talking about the Snowden revelations at work today, actually, and it's been done in movies. Like there's a fictionalized movie which is just called Snowden, where what's his name? I've forgotten the actor's name who plays Snowden. No, brain go blank. But he's pretty good. He plays Snowden. I haven't seen that, but there was a doco as well. The journalist made of the whole Snowden revelations, and the one bit that I really remember in the Snowden documentary was one of the first times the journo Glenn Greenwald and someone else was meeting with Snowden for the first time to look at the information he had and to see if they could run with it, to see what they could publish. I think they're in Japan. Like they're meeting somewhere secretly. Like Snowden still hasn't gone public, but he's got information that he knows is basically going to mean the end of his life as he knows it. So he's out of the US. Thank you, Megalitron. I knew it was a long name. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. His Foxification knew it too. Yeah, so they met somewhere. I think it was Japan in a hotel room. The journalists are meeting with Snowden, and Snowden's got his laptop, and he's showing them stuff, and they're in the middle of stuff, and the fire alarm goes off, like the evacuation warning goes off in the hotel, and they just look at each other, and you see like they're going, I don't want to be paranoid, but is this legit? Like, is it just by, like, I've never been in a hotel that sounded an evacuation siren, and I'm here with this really sensitive information, and there's an evacuation warning. Is this legit, or is this a scam to get us to leave the hotel, and is someone going to grab us when we leave the hotel? And you see there's this moment where they're looking at each other and they're trying not to freak out. They're trying to go, okay, let's look at this logically. What's happening here? And they decide to leave the hotel with the evacuation. And it's a proper evacuation. Nothing happens. No one grabs them. They don't get arrested, and they go back to the hotel a bit later. There's just this moment because they're in the hotel room looking at this incredibly sensitive information, and an evacuation warning goes off, and they just look at each other and go, what the fuck? What the fuck? And they're not cool. They're not cool with it. It's not great. They're just going like, no, I'm not happy. Not happy. This might be nothing, but this seems like a terrible, terrible coincidence, and I'm not cool with it. I am most definitely not cool with this coincidence. But yes, they soldier on, and it turns out that it is a proper evacuation, and they don't get arrested. Yeah, you're right, Catherine. I feel like Snowden should have had the information to bring Trump down, but Trump's given all the information to bring himself down. It's just like Trump's bad behavior seems so obvious and so self-evidently corrupt and unlawful. It's like, well, he must be bad, yeah? Yeah, misclassification, it would absolutely beg a belief if Trump doesn't go down. But it's interesting, like he has explicitly said, oh, like if something happens to me, there'd be a revolution, my supporters would go wild. And I do genuinely worry about what those really unhinged Trump supporters would do, because most of them have fucking guns as well. Look, they might do nothing, because those people do tend to be far more talk than action. But some people, like when Trump said, like, if anything happened to me, my supporters would, tear the place apart. Some people said, oh, he's talking shit. I'm not sure he's talking shit. That it could be anything from very destructive protests. I do genuinely worry about the gun angle. They talk about revolution. I don't believe that would happen because, well, the power structures in the US are too entrenched. If people with guns cause trouble, government people with guns will respond. So, yes, so you hit the nail on the head. It's amazing what Trump has normalized. And this is a concern. I worry America is not going to recover from the damage Trump has done. And I worry about that as a not American, because a damaged America damages the whole world. America before Trump did enough fucking damage to the world, quite honestly. But an America that loses itself is a horrible threat to the entire world. And it really concerns me. And I've said this is whether Trump resigns and gets prosecuted, or even not prosecuted, if he just resigns to avoid prosecution, if he gets impeached, if he loses the next election, if he drops dead, because, as I say, he's old and incredibly bad shape and under a lot of stress. Those are three incredibly high risk, and he's got all of them. Or even if he served 2 full terms and had to leave at the end of 2 full terms. I don't fucking know what his supporters would do. Catherine, you still can't believe he became president sometimes. Yeah, you and me both. You and me both. It is strange. Nothing means anything in the world. I swear the world was not this fucked 20 years ago. Or 10 years ago. It just wasn't. Although I get upset, like, at the fucking reworking of the image of George W. Bush. And it's like, you thought Bush was bad. What about Trump? Bush was A, thick as shit, B, dragged the world into completely unjustified war that killed well over 1 million people and burned through trillions of dollars. C, was part of a machine where particularly Cheney and his cronies siphoned off billions of dollars with their bullshit war. They siphoned off billions of dollars into private hands. Bush has not been made better by the horrors of Trump. Bush is still fucking awful. Bush is thick as shit. He is a criminal. He killed over 1 million people. It's just like, what the fuck? I don't feel it too. I did see that actually, and you have to be a bit of a American politics tragic to know this name, Clive and Bundy. But these are these people who thought they could rebel against the federal government, and even they have been speaking out and saying what Trump's doing is bullshit, particularly with the Mexican border. Yes. Yes, Ms. Fox occasionally true. We used to laugh about the concept of Arnie being president. He can't because of the American Constitution, because he wasn't born in America. Well, yeah, another thing I worry about is Trump's normalized such ridiculous bullshit that something that comes after him could be even worse, or maybe it's marginally better, but you just go, well, at least it's not Trump. It's like, yeah, okay, this guy, this woman is obviously a criminal, and they're obviously a piece of shit, but at least they're not Trump. It's better than Trump, isn't it? And that's what I really worry about, that Trump and his supporters have damaged public discourse so much that ridiculous, awful shit gets treated like it's acceptable, because in comparison, it's not as bad. What are you doing, you weird cat? Look, go here. Go here. Yeah, that's better. That's better. You can, yeah, all right, I'll give you a scratch. You're going to come back to your adoring public. Hey, how's it going, buddy? How you doing, buddy? You're here for the last 10 minutes. Good to see you. This Foxification, you reckon Kanye could loathing? I don't know. Kanye is weird. And look, here's the thing. Kanye is intelligent, and it's quite stupid and self-satisfied to say Kanye isn't intelligent, because Kanye has done a lot to get where he is. But something about the Kanye bubble has made Kanye really weird. Kanye has got into the I'm a genius bubble, and he appears to be convinced, because he has had success in his chosen area, that he is a genius in all areas. And he has become somewhat disconnected from reality. And yes, well, he's not the first one to call himself God, as Foxification, but yes, and he has said weird things about running for president. But yes, Kanye is in such a bubble. He is rather disconnected from reality. Yes. So, Aussie Gun Buddy, dealing with the idiots getting pissed off by TV. It is very weird behaviour. We've had that conversation, but it's very weird behaviour. So where you reckon post-Trump next president will double down? What do you mean by double down? I'm intrigued by that. Oh my God, this verification. President Ivanka Trump. Look, I reckon 100%, no doubt whatsoever, they're considering it. They're seriously considering it. because Trump's moved us to a position where nothing means anything. Being completely unqualified is not an impediment. Being a completely objectionable, vile, disgusting human is not an impediment. Just a belief that you're better than everyone is all that's required. How's it going, buddy? Did I see a Vancouver traffic news channel got hacked on Twitter? No, I'm intrigued as to what a hacked Vancouver traffic news channel is, though. Ms. Fox, actually, you raise a good point that she seems like a reasonable option in relation to her father. And the Republican Party has shown they are utterly without soul, conscience, or morals. And they will follow anyone to have power. Power in and of itself is the only thing that matters. They've all talked about, oh no, that's unacceptable, this is unacceptable. But when they had the choice of suck up to Trump or abandon power, they chose suck up to Trump. Democrats would have done the same thing. I just can't imagine a Democrat equivalent, quite honestly. But politicians generally will go for power over morality any day. Just what popped into my head, I remembered from one of the new James Bond movies, the not good one, the one about water, Quantum of Solace, weakest of the Daniel Craig James Bond movies. But there was a line I liked where CIA are doing a deal with the bad guy, and Felix Leiter says to another CIA agent, "The fuck are we doing with this guy? You know what he does?" And the other CIA agent goes, "Yeah, we should only work with nice people." And that sums up power in the world. And I don't think there's any political party that's been in power that is immune to this. Anyone who can say they haven't fallen into this, but they all will do what's required to get power. They'll abandon their morality. They'll abandon their principles. Why is that so? Mimsy seems really interested in my phone. What if I put my camera on there and you could see yourself? What would you say then? What are you doing? Oh my God, she's up to trouble. Trouble. What are you doing? No? Okay. It's no good. Catherine, sick of the Republicans keeping in power. Could you imagine, for instance, if Obama hadn't won the election, if Hillary Clinton had gotten the Democrat nomination and won, then the presidential system would have been Bush, Clinton, and then say Jeb Bush got up, it would have been Bush again, and then maybe enough time would have passed that Chelsea Clinton could stand, and it would be like Bush, Clinton, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Clinton. That'd be just fucked. It's like monarchical dynasties. It's really fucking shit. Yes, Mimsy is definitely off looking for coin or wares. He actually found an recently emptied ice cream container and was licking the melted ice cream out of it. I think he was very happy with that. Okay, feeling so that's what you mean by when you're saying successor to Trump doubling down, actually denying Trump did anything wrong and keeping on going and getting worse. Yeah. Well, I guess, you know, it's wide open. There's no way of knowing who ends up next, whether it's a really establishment person, whether that's Democrat or Republican, or whether it's someone who's more of an insurgent. the Republican side seems dead as fuck. They've all been so scared to speak out against Trump. There doesn't seem to be any alternative to Trump. But, you know, say, for instance, he lost the next election or got impeached or resigned or whatevs. Then if there was a Democrat, then yeah, the Republicans have 4 years to find who their next person is. But yeah, the Democrats are going wild. Like, they're going to end up, same as last time, they're going to end up with at least a dozen people declaring themselves to be candidates for the presidency. It'll be interesting if any of them are any sort of real sort of insurgent, different, new, vibrant voice, or if it's just going to be boring establishment people again. Like, people who should stay the fuck out include Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. It's just like, your fucking time's passed, okay? Let someone younger in. But yeah, who knows what the fuck's gonna happen. Oh, yeah, that's a good point, Felix. I actually agree with you. The CIA have been caught again and again falling into the fallacy of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's a saying people say, and it's a bullshit saying, and it's gotten people into lots of trouble. And yes, what you say, that the enemy of your enemy can end up being your worst enemy later on, is at least as likely as them being your friend. And the CIA has been terribly guilty, particularly in the communist paranoia, of backing people who were fucking genocidal maniacs just because they were anti-communist. And it's led to absolutely catastrophic decisions with foreign policy. It's cost God knows how many lives of these. Hello, Mimsy, you've decided to come back. Fair enough. Do not point your butt at the camera. That is so rude. Cats. Cats in their buttholes. What the hell is that about? Come on, come up here. I'll give you a scratch. Yes, that's it. Funny cat. All right. I'm going to say good night to everyone, Mimsy. Got to say good night, I think. It's time to bid all these nice people farewell. Had a fun old night of the chin wags. Hope you've enjoyed it. I have enjoyed your company, as per usual. Hope to see you again soon. We'll see. It's not supposed to be that hot tomorrow. I just remember last Friday coming home and it being really hot and me not being very motivated to make videos. But it's not supposed to be that hot tomorrow. Maybe we'll have a TFU Friday ready tomorrow. Yeah, so don't forget to hit me up on the socials if you don't already. Give me any ideas for things to talk about and whatnot. I hope you all look after yourselves. Have a good time. Till I see you again, take care, and I will say bye for now. Bye-bye.